Welcome to the Sales Mindset Podcast, where we talk about all things sales related, having the right mindset for success. What do we want to talk about today, Brian?
So today, our topic is about the hustle grind set, or this culture that's emerged on the internet, the Sigma mindset, and it's a large scope. I'm not sure how familiar you are, like from beginning to end of it, but it goes into like dating and personal success as well. But the idea is extreme independence and extreme personal responsibility, which I would say are good things. But there's also when you take it to the extreme, almost neglecting maybe certain mental health steps or under-exaggerating how challenging certain successes are. So I wanted to get your thoughts in respect to sales, that hustle mindset, this hustle grind set, like you got to work. What do you think of it?
One person's healthy hustle is another person's toxic workplace. But I think it's important to recognize that, how can I phrase this? You've got to work harder than the other person if you're going to succeed in excess of the other person.
Yeah.
Right. And I basically agree with the hustle mindset, right? Get it done. When your competition is doing more than you, that's how you lose market share. And so in sales, you're completely responsible for your own business, basically. And if you are not calling people, then someone else is. So where it crosses the line into toxic, I think you're absolutely right. You've got to take care of your mental health, so to speak. But that being said, our mental health is far more fragile than it used to be. And I think that's a big concern. Look at the work ethic of our elders, if you will, right? Look at, did people complain about the 6-day work week when there was a 6-day work week?
Yeah.
Right? Now, and this is manufacturing, so we've got to take it with a grain of salt, but when Ford instituted the weekend, he did so because he wasn't being altruistic. He discovered people were actually more productive.
Yeah.
So whereas you've got to hustle, you've got to grind, at what sacrifice?
Yeah.
So recently talking to someone who is in medical device sales, and he was talking about career growth in medical device sales. And so for our audience, medical device sales, that is pure hustle culture, right? And you're dealing with doctors.
Yeah.
Right? And those doctors they can be very, very demanding in terms of the time. So the idea is hustle young so you don't have to hustle old.
Yeah.
I think that's important because when you look at your goals, first of all, let's talk about the goal of getting married, the goal of having a family and what that takes. Work your ass off when you're young, when you should be more resilient. And I think that not so much, maybe starting with my parents, not my specific parents, but our generation's parents, but more so your generation's parents have been too soft. And it gets into that participation trophy issue. Which, by the way, participation trophies were so bad. Like
you're not big on the participation trophies.
Well, it's not even me saying that it's bad. It's that when you look at how people responded to it, it devalues the people who actually put the work in.
Yeah.
And to some degree, what was found was that the children receiving these participation trophies either didn't value what they were doing either, but also later in life, it's like, oh, you mean I don't get a participation trophy for showing up at work? You mean I actually have to produce something at work?
Yeah.
Right? And it devalues the work that went into winning. As I've read in psychology, when you're congratulating someone for winning, it's not so much don't focus on the win as what you're congratulating for. Remind them that it wasn't the game that they won, it was the practices, it was the effort that went in ahead of time. There's also this kumbaya fluffy BS that everyone should be able to participate in everything, and that's not the case either, right? I actually got irritated when in high school I was expected to excel in basketball in gym class.
I'm fine. Look at basketball player.
Yeah, I mean, right? I'm 5'6" straight out of the chiropractor.
Yeah.
So you can imagine I was not going to do very well in high school basketball, but they were crammed in my throat. I hate basketball now. I sizzle with that, by the way. But it's the reverse, that maybe I should be given more leeway. It's like handicapping me so that I can compete in a basketball game. No, I'm not built for basketball. I'm built to run. Though I don't do it, I'm probably more built for powerlifting.
Yeah.
Just with the smaller frame, the stockier Italian frame that I have. You just know what your talents are. Not everyone should be able to participate in everything, and even if they don't do well, give them a participation. Just find something they can be fucking good at.
Yeah.
Right?
Play to your strengths. It's part of
and find your strengths.
Being a person. Yeah.
So getting back to the hustle culture thing.
Well, actually, hold on. Will you forget your point? Because I kind of want to comment on the participation trophy.
Okay. Yeah.
So I actually go back and forth on participation trophies because I think there's a good way to do it and a not so good way to do it, for children at least, where I was always, for actually a really long time, I was of the opinion that they were silly. Like, even as a kid, I'm like, no, this is stupid. I'm like, I don't want this. Like, you either win or lose. And now as an adult, I have on back at home, like in South Florida where my parents are, in my bedroom, there's a couple soccer trophies from when I used to play soccer. And we got second place maybe a couple times. Remember, there was a couple times.
So you still lost?
Yeah, we still lost. You got first, second, or third. But there was 1 or 2 seasons, I think it was just one, but there was 1 or 2 where we just didn't get in like the top 3, top 5. And we got a participation trophy, but it was a different trophy. It wasn't like everybody got the same trophy. It was like this little lucite thing that was like fall, whatever, soccer season, CCSA. And we got it. It wasn't as grand as the main trophies, but it was a cool memento as a kid to say, oh, I played in that season.
Okay.
And we still we didn't feel the accolade as though, oh, we're getting a trophy because we won. I always made a joke. I said the thank you for playing trophy is what I called it. And I put it on my shelf.
I think there's a point of differentiation. I believe, if I remember participation trophies, it was no one gets an award. They just all get the same damn trophy.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So I've got...
Oh, it's just silly.
Yeah, that's...
Yeah.
So if you go into my gym in the garage, you'll see that I've got this many, I don't even know, it's years worth of finisher medals for marathons, triathlons, etc. From 2012 all the way through till today. I do as many as I used to. That's not the same because there is still something to shoot for, and underneath all the finisher medals are all the actual podium finishes that I have. And I think that's that differentiation. Okay, you completed, it's like a certificate of completion. You did the bare minimum.
Yeah.
You trained, you ran the race, you just didn't finish in front of other people. Yeah. But the race itself is an accomplishment. And I think that's true. And completing a season, or even to some degree completing a game, I don't know how that works. But okay, good. But here we go. You didn't win the game. People that won the game, they're the ones that get that.
Yeah, they got the big fancy trophy.
Yeah. So you're still... Same thing in Salesforce compensation, right? Mm-hmm. You might have, especially in something where you're not selling things large enough to justify a commission, or where the factors are way out of your hand, like CPGs, consumer product goods. So you get your salary, and then if your territory happens to do well, boom, there's that bonus. There's in President's Club. There's all the other things that you can go for. So you've got your bare minimum, and then you motivate beyond that.
That makes sense.
So, I'll
difference of presentation.
Exactly. There's still something else to reward people who have done more to develop their I want to say that like this. Done more to develop their talents. Everyone has talent.
Yeah.
It's just that some people have done more deliberate practice, whether they're parents, if we go back to the participation trophy or not, to earn and win.
Mhm.
There's always a little skosh of luck involved, but
Yeah. Well, it's like you would in the Sales Mindset Academy. There's the quotient or what do you call the equation? That's success is skill times effort squared. What does that come from again?
that's actually Duckworth's.
That's Duckworth. Okay.
Yeah. So your skill is equal to talent times effort.
Hmm.
Achievement is skill times effort, and you see that squaring of that effort. Michael Jordan wasn't always good at basketball.
Yeah.
He got not cut, but he didn't even get onto the varsity team when he first tried out.
Mhm.
You look at all the gymnasts. Well, that's because they got started when they were young and
Yeah.
their parents were driving them to those AM practices. Michael Phelps, I was
Mhm.
just listening to something actually this morning, and I had no idea. He literally never took a day off. Talk about hustle, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He was swimming every damn day. Now, some of those days, he's probably doing recovery swims.
Yeah. Yeah. Where they're
where
like
he's
lighter.
doggy paddling, well, not doggy paddling. I'm sure, doggy paddling to him, he'd probably still crush me
Yeah.
in the pool. And yes, he has that wingspan that lets him excel in the pool, but he still had to practice every single day
Yeah.
to get there. And
Part of the hustle.
exactly.
Yeah.
So we take that over into sales.
Mhm.
And first of all, it's not hustle to cold call every single day. It's smart. It's so you don't cool off. It's
Yeah.
so you don't weaken that part of your brain. And our brains do have areas of gray matter that can strengthen and weaken. This has been shown in the science. So you have to engage in that deliberate practice. The problem, if you will, that you don't see, and you sometimes see it in gym as well, is that if you're working out physically, you're
Mhm.
going to see some sort of physical change.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when it comes to practicing the cold calling, whatever's relevant for your industry, whatever's relevant for your products and services, and what's relevant for you, you're not practicing that every day. Guess what? You're not going to be good at it.
Yeah.
You have to be regular and do it, basically. And obviously, I'm passionate about you. You're how energized I am about this. And that if that's hustle, then hustle, right?
Mhm.
But and as you're younger, sure, you're probably going to want to do 10-hour days. You're probably going to need to do 10-hour days. You
Yeah.
might need to crush it into the weekend from
Yeah.
time to time. Earn it early so that you can relax
Yeah. So it pays the
later.
dividends.
And then you can be a responsible parent,
Mhm.
spouse, etc. And I say that, and some people in hustling like, I don't need a parent or spouse later.
Yeah.
Trust me, you may think that. How many people change their mind later? And it's like, well, shit.
Yeah.
Here I am, later in life and not enjoying that aspect of life. Almost jealous of people who are.
This is purely anecdotal, but it's kind of basing off what you're saying. Almost every single celebrity, specifically athlete, that you hear testimonial from, like, how did you get here? Like, what do you put your success on? They'll talk about their family and their friends and their support network, and they'll say, I did a little bit every day.
Exactly.
And that's like one of the most consistent things I've heard is just do a little bit every day. Even if it's, what was the book? Atomic Habits by Neil Rackham. No.
Not Neil Rackham's spin selling. Atomic Habits is James Clear.
James Clear, yeah. And where he said you could even just model it, where if you want to run every day, you don't even necessarily need to run a mile every day. Put on the shoes, go for a walk, and just try to get a jog in there for the first few days. For me, I've been trying to learn Spanish since my freshman year of high school, so like 8 years or 10. Wow, my God, 10 years now, and I always ended up dropping it until recently. I'm 100% confident that I'm going to stick with it. And honestly, it's the Duolingo gamification.
It's fantastic.
It is. It's great because it pulls you in and it makes you want to do it every day, for one.
Mhm.
And two, you can get on and you can do as little or as much as you want. So I have a goal that I like to set where, for me, like, I like to try to do all the daily challenges in one full unit a day. And that's the goal. Sometimes if I don't have a lot of time, I'll just get on and do one lesson. Or sometimes I'll get on and I have a little bit of extra time and I'll do 3 units or something like that. Where if you commit yourself into the routine of doing it every day, you remove that decision fatigue of having to decide to open the app. It's like, oh, this is something I want to do anyway. Even if I do it for 5 minutes or an hour, I'm doing a little bit every day and constantly getting better.
And it's how you spend your time.
Mhm.
How many times have you scrolled while you're taking a dump?
Exactly. Yeah.
Right? Right? Aprendí español en 5 minutos cada día
Yeah.
en 2 o 3 años.
No.
You're not there yet, are you?
Well, I got the general vibe of what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Exactly. And I had no idea, actually, this is the amazing thing, I think, when it comes to certain levels of mastery. I didn't realize I had that level of proficiency with Spanish. And I'm sure someone's going to be like, that was not proficient.
Yeah, to be like, actually, you have the wrong conjugation.
So, and for listeners, I just said I learned Spanish with 5 minutes a day, every day for 2 to 3 years. And it wasn't like I got past the point where I knew Spanish, but I didn't realize I had gotten past that point.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one element of mastery is that you may have mastered some aspect of things and not even realize it. That's how slow it happens.
Yeah.
So there's, we get into the hustle. Yeah, you need to. And I don't know why you mentioned dating in that, but why did you mention dating?
Oh, yeah. So actually, I guess that brings us back to the main topic then.
Mm-hmm.
The whole the bit on the internet memes, or sometimes it's serious, is don't forget the Sigma grind set. Stay on your grind. And maybe it'll be there's like the thirst trap TikToks, with the girl doing some dance that it'll cut. It'll be like, stop. What are you doing, brother?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Kudos to those people that are putting that there, right?
It's definitely it's pretty funny when it cuts over. But
and oh man, I forget the guy's name, but there's a guy on TikTok that basically calls people out when they're looking at the thirst traps. But there's actually, I joined a dating coaching site just because dating, for what I was used to, and when I realized I need to start taking dating seriously today, texting and things like that are a little off. So I signed up for it, but they're exactly the same thing. Practice your cold approaches.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. I don't necessarily agree with it because I don't like the possibility of leading someone on.
Yeah.
Right. But they're like, you're not practicing your cold approaches because you like that girl or because you want to take her out. Because if you do, you're not going to do it right. You're practicing your cold approaches for the sake of practicing your cold approaches. That is grit.
Yeah.
Right there. He doesn't, actually he might, because he's got a background in psychology. The person who runs it, it's Modern Flirting. But the idea of grit is that you're cold calling because you love the idea of cold calling.
Yeah.
You're not necessarily results driven. You're driven because you enjoy the activity.
Yeah.
Related to the athletic thing, there's a meme. I don't know if it's one girl and I've just seen it multiple times, or it's multiple people doing this, but it's like marathoner girls too. I've not seen a dude do this, but they have a AI generated voice saying, "A marathoner, you are so lucky, you're so fit," and it says, "Lucky, yeah," and then it just flashes their entire Strava posts of their long runs because they enjoy the long run.
Yeah.
Right? The marathoners don't enjoy the marathon. Trust me.
Yeah.
They do not enjoy the marathon.
Yeah. It's everything's leading us.
Training to that particular marathon. When I was doing triathlons, I did enjoy the triathlon, but it was the bike rides that I enjoyed. It was honestly, it's the disconnect in the pool. That's the one area you like. Even on a bike, I can have my phone out, or if I'm running with the watch or something like that. But the disconnect when you're in the pool, all of that was part of it. And it's the same thing with sales. It sucks when people are dicks to you and they hang up or anything like that. But
sometimes they're the most fun though. You get some stories out of it.
You get stories, and it's like, hey, I know that okay, I've got one of the no's out of the way.
Yeah,
I got one of the. It's like there are yeses behind those no's. You just got to get through those no's.
Yeah,
and that process of doing the research on the prospect. Hopefully, you're not just randomly dialing.
Yeah,
someone. I know that there are some jobs out there like that, but the process of here's my list of prospects. I am going to check out their LinkedIn. I'm going to check out their websites. I'm going to Google them and see what else there. I'm going to Google their company. I'm going to look something up so that I can give them value in their cold email, so that I can make these at least five touches to them through direct mail, through emails, through voicemails, whatever it is, before they actually pick up the phone and say, instead of click because I've never given them anything of value, but because I've loved the process of warming that particular cold call up.
Yeah. It's the same thing, I think, as training a little bit every day, where the cold calls at first, it's kind of, we've talked about this a lot now, but it's kind of a scary concept. But when you get over that initial hurdle, I don't think I had told you, but I had regrown some of my call reluctance and I didn't even realize it. Like I was kind of putting off certain calls, like, oh, I'll send an email, or I'll send a text, or I'll follow up this way. Like, oh, well, actually, I want to get this material together before I call this person. And it was so like, one, I had a certain amount of pride associated with like, no, I'm a salesperson, I don't want to do that, where I didn't even recognize it. And also,
that you remember, shove your pride down.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, everyone, pride. Yes, it's good to have pride. Right?
Yeah.
But pride in and of itself is just as unhealthy for you as comfort is, I think.
Mm-hmm. I think so as well.
Because it creates this I'm better than cold calling.
Yeah, well, it makes you think that, or for me, what the issue was I didn't even consider the possibility that one of the reasons that I wasn't calling was because I was afraid to. It was, I had all these other reasons to be avoiding the responsibility, making some calls. And then when I actually sat down and started calling people, I got really nervous for the first call. I'm like, why are you so nervous?
Oh, and I get that, by the way, too.
Yeah.
And here I am with all of my experience in sales class and sales training courses and this and that. So what, right? It's put your big boy pants or put your big girl pants on and make the calls and do the things that you're doing. We talk about the mental health, and I do want to address the mental health before we run out of time. And I think if you have the right balance in life, then you can push yourself a little harder.
Yeah.
The idea of work hard, play hard. And when I say play hard, that doesn't necessarily mean party, get completely smashed.
Yeah.
But you can still carve out time for whatever is important to you to be able to restore yourself. Mm-hmm. Because after a while, so let's take this back to the athletic arena. You get overtrained.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, like I said, Michael Phelps, he may have been training every single day, but I'll guarantee there may have been days where he was just doing 1,000 meters, or maybe he was just doing drills to work on his freestyle pole, butterfly, that's
he's just
backstroke or something like that. Or training may have meant yoga and stretching and weights or something along those lines. So when it comes to sales, training may be reading a book on sales to gain some knowledge and experience. It could even be mentoring people, right? Doing role plays on the buyer side of things will give you additional experience, or just being social, because you're in sales. You got to learn how to be social as well.
You got to practice.
You got to go out. Yeah. Right. The cold approaches to people at bars. I do cold approach people. I don't do it for dating. Yeah. I'm not about that type of action. Yeah. But I still do it because this is the process. I love the idea of just making friends with someone when I'm out. Especially in areas where it's completely appropriate, like airports. Or while I'm traveling. Now, as long as they seem receptive, and if they don't, that's me practicing reading the room. Reading whether
and be like, they just want to hang out by themselves, and then you leave them alone.
Exactly. And usually it's just I'll make one random comment. So one of the 3 bars that I'll rotate through if I want to do some work while I'm at a bar. Almost always there's someone else there with a laptop open. And I'm like, oh good, I'm in the working section. And of course they'll chuckle, and it's like temporary coworkers. Well, and it allows me to practice the socialization, because that's also how you find business. And I have found business at bars, I found business in airports, etc.
On the hustle grind set concept, right? One of the things that we actually didn't go into a lot of the details so far that I kind of wanted to cover is there's some like extreme. I don't want to say extreme, because some people probably won't think it's extreme. So if you want, people want to yell at us, they can. But like cold plunges and certain types of meditation and that type of stuff as well. Where
fads.
They are fads. There's real evidence.
There is.
To back up a lot of them. And some of them, I watched an extended thing on, specifically focusing on cold plunges. I watched a kind of an extended thing on a doctor talking about it and saying if you get value out of it, you enjoy it, then it's great. But if you're forcing yourself to do it and you really don't want to be doing it, I would never recommend going and doing that for your own benefit.
I think I was reading The Comfort Crisis, and they were talking about some of the metabolic benefits, and it's proven, but you have to do it right. And again, you're not going to do it if you don't like doing it.
Yeah.
And you're going to resent it. Go back to the basketball thing.
Yeah.
You know, I resent basketball right now. I loathe it because it was crammed down my throat. And that can happen if you cram something down your own throat as well.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think that all of the fads, the issue that I end up taking with it is that I agree with the message. Where for the cold plungers, I think it's an interesting thought experiment where it's almost like exercising the muscle of discipline in a way. It is the way that I like to see it. I don't know if there's any, that's what they claim, and they claim it's research based. And my view on it is that I kind of agree, but on more of a anecdotal level, where I could see doing something like that kind of challenges and works out that muscle of discipline.
Yeah.
But also, it's not the only way to achieve an end, like that type of extreme thought. My view that I'm starting to take on is that the way to kind of have that balanced lifestyle and get the most benefit out of it is to have the confidence that it's going to go well beforehand. In my mind, is that a lot of stress or anxiety that comes from like working a long day is honestly the day before.
Absolutely.
Oh man, that's going to suck. But when you're actually doing it, there's nothing you can do about it anymore. I'm working the day.
So I've got a huge, not huge, but it's a philosophy that today started yesterday. This week started last week. And
I like that actually.
Yeah, and it really sets you up basically for everything that you need to do, and it's important to do that. Same thing when you said when it creates the confidence in it in and of itself creates ability. And as we're getting closer to the end of the recording, I think I'm going to end on this, and of course, if you want to add anything else, those who say they can and those who say they can't are both usually correct.
It's always a good adage.
Exactly.
Truly.
Anything to add?
I don't. I think that there's a lot more to actually dig up here in a future conversation, kind of talking about like personal responsibility. So we should cover that, I think, in another one.
Absolutely. We want to keep this bite-sized for
absolutely.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you next time.